1-5, Day 2, Power of Monomials. So today we're going to be learning about power of a quotient. So it's a quotient because it's starting out looking like a fraction. Now we've done these before where we have distributed the outside exponent to each of the terms on the inside of a fraction, the top and bottom. Now we just have more than one base. We are going to distribute it to all the bases on top and bottom. So in our first example, 6x cubed is on top, and that is over 6y to the fifth power. So we're going to distribute that 2 on the outside to each of the bases on the inside, the 2 on the top and the 2 on the bottom. So the first base is 7. It didn't come with its own exponent, so we give it the 2. The x came with its own exponent of 3, so it goes inside parentheses, and then it goes the 2 on the outside. That is the top of our fraction. Our first base on the bottom is 6. It did not come with its own exponent, so we give it the 2. The next base on the bottom is y. It comes with its own exponent of 5. We put that inside parentheses, and then we give it the 2. Now we're going to simplify. We learn our top 15 perfect squares in here, and these are 2 of them. First one on top is 7 squared. 7 squared is 7 times 7. 7 times 7 is 49. 7 squared is 49. Our next base is x. We have our exponents, one on the inside, one on the outside. We learn about powers of a power. So 3 times 2 is 6. On the bottom, another one of our top 15 perfect squares, 6 squared. 6 squared is 6 times 6. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 squared is 36. Our last base in this problem is y. And 5 times 2 is 10. Now we cannot factor anything out of 49 and 36. That's the same. And x and y are different bases, and their exponents are positive, so this is simplified. We're going to do that again. Again, we are going to simplify 3r to the 7th power over 4y to the 6th power, and that whole thing is squared. So we're going to distribute this 2 to the r on top, and the 3, the y on bottom, and the 4. 3 didn't come with an exponent, so we give it the 2. R came with an exponent of 7. So we are going to put that in parentheses and then give it the 2. That is the top. On the bottom we have 4 is our first base. It did not come with an exponent, so we give it the 2. The y is our last base. It came with 6. We put it in parentheses, so then we can give it the 2. 3 squared over 4 squared. These are in our top 15, so we will learn these. 3 squared is 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 squared is 9. Our last base on top is r. 7 times 2 is 14. On the bottom, 4 squared. 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16. 4 squared is 16. Our last base is y. We multiply our exponents. 6 times 2 is 12. We cannot factor out a similar number for 9 and 16. Those stay as is. R and y are different bases. Their exponents are positives. This is simplified. Now I do have a summary for this one. Okay. So in our summary, when we are doing the power of a quotient, we are going to distribute we're going to distribute that outside exponent to each base inside. Okay. After you do that, we do have to simplify it, so we will keep our base. We'll keep each of those bases. Okay. We will multiply those exponents. And then we are actually going to learn on the back that after we do those, sometimes after that, then we have to simplify again. Okay. So pause if you need to finish the front, and then we'll go on the back. Now on the back, okay, we're going to use all of the laws of exponents we have learned up to this point. So you have all of the skills to complete this side. You just have to take it one step at a time. If you need to look back at some of your other notes, please do so. But you have all of the skills you need to do these problems. All right. The first problem on the back, on top, we have 4r to the 5th power, s to the 0 power, all over 5r to the negative 2nd power, s. The whole thing is in parentheses to the minus 2 power. Now this minus on the outside is our issue that we deal with first. Okay, because normally we would distribute this 2 to all of our terms on the inside. But I've told you if you have a negative exponent, we have to think fraction. Except on the inside, we already have a fraction. So the very first thing we must do, under the definition of negative exponents, is we must deal with this negative exponent on the outside. And here's how we do that. We're going to write this entire bottom, 5r to the negative 2nd power s. 5r to the negative 2nd power s. And it is going to become the top of our fraction. Then we're going to take this top part of the original and write it in the bottom. Write it just as it's written, s to the 0. The whole thing still goes in parentheses. And we put the 2 exponent on the outside. We have taken care of the negative part of the exponent by flipping our fraction or writing the reciprocal. Once we have taken that and we've taken care of the negative, then we distribute the 2. To the s that's now on top, the r that's now on top, and the 5. And then the s that's on the bottom, the r that's on the bottom, and the 5. Okay. So the 5 didn't come with its own exponent, we give it the 2. The r came with an exponent of minus 2, put it in parentheses, 2 goes on the outside. The top s didn't come with an exponent, so we give it the 2. Now on the bottom, the 4 base did not come with an exponent, give it the 2. The r on the bottom came with an exponent of 5, put it in parentheses, and then give it a 2. The s on the bottom has a 0 exponent, put inside parentheses, and then give it the 2. Okay. I'm going to change pens. It's because we have a lot of math going on. All right, 5 squared on top. This is part of our top 15 perfect squares, so we are going to do this. 5 squared. 5 squared is 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Our r on top, okay, minus 2 times 2 is minus 4. The s to the 2nd power is just going to come on over because we haven't done anything with it yet. On the bottom, 4 squared, part of our top 15, so 4 squared is 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 squared is 16. Now we have r on the bottom. 5 times 2. 5 times 2 is 10. We have an s on the bottom. 0 times 2. 0 times 2 is 0. Okay, so now we have got an r on top and an r on bottom. We have an s on top and an s on bottom. Now when we learned our quotient rule, which is inside each of these circles is a little quotient, we learned that we subtract our exponents top down. And when we subtract our exponents top down, it's going to tell us whether this r is going to go on top or the bottom. So we're going to bring over the 25 and the 16, and we're going to see if the r goes on top or bottom, and then we'll see if the s goes on top or bottom. So let's do the r first. So you have minus 4, minus 10, okay, because we subtract these top down. So you have minus 4, minus 10 more, that's minus 14. This negative sign here tells you that r wants to go on the bottom. So r is going to go on the bottom. And once we have placed it on the bottom, we lose the negative and we just write the exponent of 14. Let's do our s. Let's see where s wants to go. S is exponents. We're going to subtract these exponents top down. 2 minus 0. 2 minus 0 is 2. This is a positive exponent. The positive exponents want to go on top. So s is going to go on top, and we're going to give it its exponent. We have simplified it. Okay, we're going to try that again. Okay, we're going to try that again with this one on the bottom. This one on the bottom also has 6 bases, 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom. Now the lovely thing about this one is the outside exponent is not negative, so we actually get to skip this whole first step. We don't have to deal with the exponent that is negative on the outside because we have a positive exponent on the outside. So let's check this one out. So since we don't have to write the reciprocal, we can start out by distributing this 3 to the r on top, the q on top, and the 9 on top. And we can distribute it to the r on the bottom, the q on the bottom, and the 45. Okay? So 9 cubed, q to the 0 goes in parentheses, and then you give it the 3. R to the negative 2 power goes in parentheses, and then you give it the 3. That is the top. On the bottom, you have 45 as a base. Then you give it the q. The q on the bottom goes inside parentheses. Then the 3 goes outside. Finally, our r comes with an exponent, so it goes in parentheses. Then you give it the 3. All right. Now, with cubing in my class, we only cube the top 5. We cube our top 5 numbers, and so we are actually going to leave these as is because we do not cube 9. We are for sure not cubing 45. We're going to leave those as is. Okay? So let's do the q on top. Q on top. 0 times 3 is 0. The r on top. Minus 2 times 3 is minus 6. We have a q on the bottom. 3 times 3 is 9. We have an r on the bottom. Minus 1 times 3 is minus 3. Now, since we have a q on top and a q on the bottom, we are going to do our math and determine if q goes on top or bottom. We will do the same thing with r. Okay. So we still are bringing down the 9 cubed, 45 cubed, and we're going to see what's going to hang out with it. Okay. Let's do our q's first. 0 minus 9. If you start out with 0 on the number line, you go backwards 9 times, minus 9. Negative, that means our Q is going to go on the bottom. Q goes on the bottom. And we give it its exponent of 9. Let's check out R. Minus 6. Minus 6 minus a negative 3. Remember that minus sign in front of the 3 is not the negative that we are using to minus our exponents top down. Now this is minus 6 minus a negative 3. Now a negative times a negative is a positive, and we've also learned one more way to say this. We've learned the opposite of negative 3. So we can rewrite this, minus 6. And the opposite of negative 3 is positive 3. So if you have 6 negatives, and you have 3 positives, you pair up your 0 matches, and what you have left is minus 3. So this minus 3 is telling us that R also wants to be on the bottom. R wants to be on the bottom. 3. All right. That's 5-2 day 2.